guys, in the last video we faced the user, and in this video we saw all this user. Okay, so now let's go to the messages, and here we saw the list of users. So first thing is to make the route that returns the user. So I want to show the user, and I also want to show the message related to that user. Okay, so this route will be the route that will be responsible for showing the messages whenever user click that user ID. So this ID is a user ID, and here will be the send message controller, and let's give the name as so message, so MESSAGS messages, and we'll make this so messages here. So public function so messages, and obviously we need a request and dollar ID. So whenever user clicks the particular ID, will show all the messages. Now let's go to the conversation.view and let's grab all the users. Since we have API that returns the user, so let's grab the user. So let's make the data on return, and let's make the users array where we will push all the users that we get from our API, and whenever page mounted, we'll push the user there. So right here mounted, and write axios axios dot get, and it is the users, then RESPON is a response, and we'll push this into our users array response dot data. And now we should, so what's wrong here, data is here and return here and mounted here so this should be, sorry, this should be this one, this, now this will be fine. Okay, this is fine, and now we have all the users there, and this is where we get all the list of users here. So if we do users, and we should see now users here, and you can see here we have the users, one user. Now let's get this user. So I'll make the p tag here and vfor, and here will be the user index in users, and let's give the key which is the index, and here we'll display the username, and we'll also have the anchor tag. Okay, so let me display this with an anchor tag. For now, this one, close the anchor tag, and here I can write user dot name. Since we have the name here, you can see name, but if I refresh this, I won't see anything. And the reason is that in the message.php we have the relationship sender and receiver, and we have to specify this ID. Okay, so now the foreign ID in the message table will be user underscore ID, and then you can also give here ID, or you can just leave as it is, just give user ID, that's fine, user ID, and here it will be the receiver ID, receiver underscore ID. Okay, now you should see the user, and you can see here, yeah, you can see the user. Okay, so now whenever I click this user, it should show me the message here, the message that I have sent to this user, or the message that user has, message that has been sent by this user to me. So how to do that? So to do that, we have to go here in the conversation, and here we'll write the click, we'll make the method here, click dot prevent, and let's give this so message message, and here we'll pass the user ID, user.id. okay, we're grabbing all the messages from that user. And in the web.php, here you can see we have the API like messages slash user slash and user ID, and we're passing this user ID. Here you can see we're looping everything, we're getting the user ID, and the user is Patterson. Here in my case the user is a Valentine Patterson. And now what I can do here is skip this, and it's fine. Now I have to make a method, so let's make the method. So here is the mounted, and here I can make method methods methods. So a user, and this user will get the ID as a parameter, so you can relate this as user ID, and we'll get all the messages here, messages. And let's make another here selected user ID. So let's try the ID that we clicked, that the user has been clicked, and here now I can get the data from my API, which is message slash user slash, and we concatenate the ID, and in JavaScript we concatenate ID using the plus user ID, which is this ID. So now we are hitting this endpoint, and we know what this returns. So currently we don't have anything, but we'll return that very soon. So then response response, and open close, and whatever we get from there we'll simply push into the this dot message response dot data. We'll push this here, and we'll also this dot selected user ID. We keep track of this ID, we simply push this ID, store this ID in here. Later on we can use this for any other purposes. Okay, so now let's go here in our method, and here now we have to show the messages related to this user ID. So here we have to do a lot of things. We have to also grab the we have to also grab the user information. We also have to grab the add information. For now we are going to make this very simple. In the next video we'll do the remaining things. So for now let's do only the show messages. Okay, so we'll just show the messages related to this ID. So here I'll write, you can write a message messages message, and where receiver receiver underscore ID equals to auth user ID, or you can also write auth ID, auth user ID, or so where receiver equals to auth ID, where user underscore ID should be equals to this ID. This is the condition. Or the second line will be, or where user underscore ID equals to auth user ID, auth user ID, and this should match this condition also. RECI where receiver ID is now ID. Get. Okay, so we are getting the message that is sent to me, or the message that I have sent to this ID. Okay, so it's simple. So now let's return the message, messages, messages, and now our endpoint will receive these messages, and it will push in the messages. And let's show this message somewhere here for now. What we get, just to test, and then we'll loop this. So refresh, and if I click here, and you can see all the messages. I get all the message in array, and now I'll display here. So one is, this one is for sender and this one was for the receiver, right? So for now let's display only one message. So here in the chat, here I'll write a v4, and here I can write the message index in messages. Okay, so message index in messages, and this is showing some error. So let's see chat. Okay, this should be where I should display the message. So b4, let's grab this here, b4, and messages, and let's close this here, and let's bring this up to here, and we have to give the key. So we have not provided a key yet, so let's provide the key, and key is the index. Okay, now this is fine. Now let's display only the text for now. Let's not display anything. Name, we have to load the user relationship to grab the name. So for now we can only display the messages or date. For now let's display the message. So message.body, and let's refresh this. If I click this, and you can see I got the message that this is the message I sent to this user. You can see here. Okay, now let's say I have sent message to some other user. Let's say I'm user ID 4 and I'm sending user ID with 3, and I'll say just hello user ID 3. Okay, now I should see this username here as well, and you can see I saw this username, and if I click, and you can see hello user ID 3. Now this was the recent chat, so I like to get this on the top. So for that we can go here, and here we can write a latest, 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 and the recent chat will be on the top. So still not working this. So return message, sorry, not here, grab this, got it from here and here, and let's see this. So okay, let's leave this for now. We'll fix these things in the next video. This is not so important, but the most important thing was to show the message, and we can click the user and you can show the message. So still we have to do a lot of things, and I'll see you guys in the next video.